Regular meeting number 7 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. And we have Reverend Alex Abrokwa-Clote, pastor. Welcome to council chambers. Would you lead us in prayer, sir?
Let us pray. Merciful God, we want to thank you for such a great honor this day, for all your blessings that you have showered upon us. We thank you for the great nation and our state of Ohio and our city, Columbus. Here are your leaders gathered together to discuss issues concerning the city. We ask for your guidance, your knowledge, your wisdom to help us make great decisions that will move our city, our nation, and our country forward. We ask for the people of the city of Columbus that they will receive a heart of peace, understanding, to work with your leaders, that we will promote your nation. We thank you and we bless you. Amen.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Are there any announcements or resolutions from members of council? Councilmember Hardin? Councilmember Klein? President Pro Tem Mills? Councilmember Page? Councilmember Paley? Councilmember Tyson?
Yes, I do have a resolution this evening, and I'm going to ask Ms. Annie Ross-Womack, who is Special Assistant to the NAACP State President, to come to the podium, please. And the resolution is 0047X-2015. It is to celebrate February as Black History Month and to recognize the contributions that the NAACP has made to the civil rights in America. Whereas the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was founded in 1909 and is the nation's largest civil rights organization committed to fight for social justice. And whereas the NAACP was formed partly in response to the continuing horrific practice of lynching, as well as the 1908 race riot in Springfield, Illinois. Whereas the NAACP was formed partly Whereas the Great Depression of 1930s influenced the NAACP to implement a focus on economic justice in the effort to secure jobs for African Americans who were disproportionately affected by the economic downturn. And whereas during the Civil Rights era, the NAACP was instrumental in advocating for equal rights for African Americans and for urging the passage of the monumental legislation such as the Civil Rights Act of 1957, 1964, and 1968, as well as the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Whereas the NAACP's principal objective is to ensure the political, educational, and socioeconomic equality of ethnic minorities in the United States and to eliminate racial prejudice through the democratic process. Whereas Black History Month, originally named Negro History Month, is celebrated during the month of February and dates back to 1926, when Dr. Carter C. Woodson set aside a special period of time in February to recognize the heritage and achievement of African Americans. Whereas the NAACP, along with other prominent civil rights advocates such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Dorothy Height, Ralph Ellison, James Baldwin, Alex Haley, Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and countless others fought against the cancer that is racism and paved a way for future generations to succeed. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council recognizes the importance of the contributions of the NAACP has made to civil rights in America and does hereby declare February as Black History Month. I move for passage.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you, Ms. Womack. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther, Councilwoman Tyson, and all of those who did sign the bill. On behalf of the National Association, the regional, the state, our state president is Ms. Sybil Edwards-McNabb. She could not be here, so I'm here in her proxy and our local chapter of the NAACP. We represent 82 chapters across the state of Ohio, which include prison chapters, college chapters, adult chapters, youth chapters, junior youth, and high school chapters. So we thank you, and we ask you to just keep in mind that although we have 1 month of February, that African American history spans 365 days a year, and that the NAACP stands guard 365, 366 in leap year. So I thank you on behalf of those who went before us. I thank you on behalf of the oldest and boldest, the strongest civil rights organization in the nation, the NAACP. Thank you.
I do have an announcement. Last year, we passed a resolution to support the Fast Path program for workforce development. And I just want to make sure that our viewing and listening audience knows more about Fast Path. I know Director Johnson and I were at a meeting last week just to get an update on Fast Path. And so if you're listening or viewing us, we want, if you know of someone in our community who is looking for a job, that's a resident of the City of Columbus, you have to be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED, and score at least to the 9th grade proficiency level, have to pass a criminal background check and a drug screen, and be eligible to work in the United States, and be recommended through a workforce partner. And there are many workforce partners that we work with at COWIC, Columbus Urban League, the Community Development for All People, Godman Gill, Goodwill, Hinkles and McCoy, Impact, the Jewish Family Services, and New Directions Career Center. There are jobs available in patient care that are from $9.68 to $15.51, building services $9.35 to $14, food services $9.32 to $14.26, and logistics $9.36 to $14.31. And so if you are interested and you meet these eligibility requirements, please contact one of the agencies that I just mentioned and just state that you are interested in the Fast Path program, and the classes are held at Columbus State Community College. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Safety Chairman Klein and I know my colleagues are all excited to have some very special guests this evening to recognize. We want to recognize two officers from the Columbus Division of Police who have agreed to join us tonight to be recognized for their extraordinary service. This time I would ask Columbus Police Sergeant Bob Williams and Officer Mike Marsteller to come forward to the podium. I'd ask Chief Jacobs and other members of the Division of Police that are present to join these two outstanding police officers. I'm guessing that many of my colleagues and many here tonight, those watching at home, saw the news coverage from a couple of weeks ago when the heroic efforts of Sergeant Williams and Officer Marsteller were featured. But for those who missed it, I'll try to quickly summarize the story. On Monday afternoon, January 26th, the snow sled skidded about 40 feet across a frozen pond with a 5-year-old girl aboard. And after her 6-year-old brother and their grandmother ran to a nearby house to get help, Columbus Police Sergeant Bob Williams and Officer Mike Marsteller responded to help. They didn't know how thick the ice was, whether it was stable or whether it would support their weight. So instead, the officers worked to keep the young girl calm, while Officer Marsteller grabbed a rescue rope from his cruiser and tossed it onto the ice. First, they couldn't quite get the rope to the sled, but with the added weight from Sergeant Williams' baton, they were able to get it to her. With calm and patient coaching, both officers were able to pull the young girl back onto solid ground. According to the news reports, just 6 minutes after arriving on the scene. It was a very happy ending to what could have been a tragic event. In fact, a similar situation played out in 2013, but the fate of the victims involved was very different. However, the tragedy helped to prevent further loss of life, because since then, every police cruiser has been outfitted with the rescue rope that was used by Officer Marsteller. There are many lessons to be learned through this story. Lessons about safe play near frozen water, about what to do in the event of an emergency, the importance of remaining calm and following instruction. All of that is very important, and this story is a great opportunity to talk to our children about how we might act if we found ourselves in a similar situation. But tonight, I do want to pay tribute to and recognize these two outstanding Columbus police officers who, but not for their service, their quick thinking and actions, this story may have had a very different ending. So tonight, I would ask my colleagues and those present in the chamber to acknowledge Sergeant Bob Williams and Officer Mike Marsteller. I want to give Safety Chairman Klein an opportunity to say a few words, and then maybe have Chief and Director, and ultimately we would love to hear from you two gentlemen this evening. Chairman Klein.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you for coming down, members of the police force. Council President, I know how these guys think. You know, they think, well, I'm just doing my job, you know, and we're grateful for you doing your job, because too often do we hear, and does the media focus on the negatives associated with how difficult your job is, and not often enough are the stories littered with the heroic acts that you demonstrated that night. Thank you on behalf of the city of Columbus, but frankly, thank you on behalf of a dad, because I don't know what it would be like to be in that situation, but I'm glad that there are people like you out there looking to cover our backs and make our families safe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chief Jacobs, any comments?
Thanks, President Ginther and council members, for being here to recognize the good work. It is through the good work of our officers that we build trust in our community, and it is through community policing that we're able to impact lives. And in this particular case, we were able to impact a young child's life and give her an opportunity to continue to grow and be part of her family. Her family was very grateful that particular night and had a new appreciation for life and the blessings that we are given. So this is just but one of the good works that we do on a daily basis. This one in particular was an outstanding example of a saving of a life, and I believe that it's a great example of us learning and being responsive to the issues that we face. As you mentioned, we noticed a problem that we didn't have the tools that we felt were necessary to make certain types of rescues, and we learned from that experience, and now we don't have to talk about another tragedy. We can talk about the success in this particular case, and it is just, as you said, describing how the calming techniques worked. These are things that our officers engage in on a regular basis in trying to calm people down and deal with the situation with good communication skills. And we'll continue to build on all of that training in the future and the excellent police work that is done in the city. And we truly appreciate the support of City Council in not only recognizing them, but in the form of the budget tonight and various other ways that you are very supportive of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Director speaks. Like to make any comments?
President Ginther, briefly, the two best days I have each year, and it's not one but 2 days, is the awards ceremony for the Columbus Division of Police, in which acts of heroism are recognized. It's not a single day because we cannot get everyone through in a single day. When you take 650,000 911 calls a year, you add in all the citizen contact, our folks simply do an outstanding job, and this is another quintessential example of the acts of bravery that occur each year.
Thank you, Director. Sergeant Williams, Officer Marsteller, any comments?
We'd just like to thank everybody for being here tonight to support us, and we're glad we could help the community, and glad that we had the foresight to learn from previous tragedies and that we had the equipment to be able to deal with this situation. Thank you.
Officer Marsteller.
Thanks for having us here today. Again, just to reiterate how important it is to be a leader in the police world. You have to not only lead from tragedies, but you have to try new things. And you got to outfit this police department with the right tools for us to do our job the right way and for great outcomes like this. So we were fortunate, and we've always been fortunate as Columbus police officers, that we have great training, and we continue that training throughout the year, and we try new things. And it's important for us to be a leader. And if this incident, if it were to make every cruiser around Franklin County and surrounding counties, state of Ohio, get ropes for their car, something simple as that, then we succeeded. And I thank you.
Well, thank you again. Any additional comments from council members before we recognize these folks one more time? Thank you so much for your courage, bravery, and I know your response is just doing your job. You've done it exceptionally well, and we're very proud of you as a city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from our elected officials, city auditor, city attorney? Judge Barros, anything from the court? This time I request the following ordinances be removed from the consent action portion of the agenda. In the Judiciary and Court Administration Committee, we have 0309-2015. Any other requests from members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent action portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of 30-day legislation by the city clerk? Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 294 and 308-2015. Technology Committee, ordinance 0185-2015. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 53, 145, 174, 206, 214, 215, 233, 238, 263, and 271-2015. Development Committee, ordinances 351 and 354-2015.
The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read the ordinance numbers of each into the record?
Resolution of Expression 42X-2015. Finance Committee, ordinances 266, 269, 285-2015. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 268 and 317-2015. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 290 and 297-2015. Public Safety Committee, ordinances 155, 158, 239, 242, 264, and 292-2015. Technology Committee, ordinances 159, 198, 204, 224, 245-2015. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 82, 227, 241, 243, 258, 260, 261-2015. The Development Committee, ordinances 302, 303, 304, and 347-2015. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 246 and 288-2015. Judiciary and Court Administration Committee, ordinance 262-2015.
Thank you. We do have one speaker on the consent agenda this evening who has signed up to speak in support of 0347-2015, and that speaker is Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome to council chambers. If you'd come forward to the podium and share your name, address, any organizations you represent. Sir, you have 3 minutes to speak to the ordinance.
1612 North Linden area, the chairman of solely vacant and abandoned property in North Linden area. I'm speaking on 03/47/2015. I don't know if my knowledge with Milo Grogan and Homeport due to the stints of vacant property into the area. But again, I don't know, but I would like to have more clarification. Multiple times when I talk about Milo Grogan, since I grew up in Milo Grogan, this particular property is a 4-unit duplex that sits behind my mother's house. And I know that community used to be beautiful years ago. And today, I still go visit my mother and look at that community. It is in horrible condition. And again, I just would like to have more clarification if this is going to be ceded over there to Homeport in the Milo Grogan area. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Any questions for Mr. Wilkins from council members? Deputy Director Papsado, any additional information on this legislation you'd like to offer?
Council President Ginther, members of council, not at the moment. We will check on Mr. Wilkins' comments regarding that property and follow up with him on that issue. Otherwise, we would recommend approval of this ordinance as submitted.
Thank you, Deputy Director Papsado. Any other questions, comments, discussion regarding the consent agenda? May I have a motion for approval of these items designated as consent actions? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll by voice.
Hardin. Klein. Mills.
Yes, with the exception of 0158-2015, on which I am abstaining.
Page.
Yes.
Paley. Tyson.
Yes.
President Ginther.
Yes, consent agenda carries. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation. The first committee is the Finance Committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. I have ordinance number 2620-2014. First, I move to take it from the table.
Hardin. Klein. Mills. Page. Paley. Tyson. President Ginther.
Thank you. This ordinance is to make appropriations for 12 months ending December 31st of 2015 for each of the several object level ones for which the City of Columbus has to provide from the monies known to be in the treasury of the said City of Columbus in the fund known as the General Fund during the said 12 months from the collection of all taxes and from other sources of revenue the amount of $813,902,000 and to declare an emergency. This ordinance appropriates monies within the general fund to various departments, commissions, and offices of city government, of Office of the Government of the City of Columbus for 12 months ending December 31st of 2015. I'm asking consideration of the amended 2015 operating budget for our city. Before I do so, I want to thank the administration and all the directors, Director Rakowski, Dave Bush, and Adam Robbins for leading this process. I also want to thank my fellow council members for their support of this budget, and Council LRO member Kate Pishotti, and my staff, Nicole Harper and James Lewis. The mayor presented a budget of $813,100,000 operating budget to Columbus City Council on November the 14th. Council received a public briefing from the administration on December the 2nd of 2014, and budget hearings were held by council members on the portions of their budget that impacted the committees in which each of the council members chairs. On January 5th of 2015, the auditor identified additional resources totaling $802,000. A public comment hearing was held on January 7th to solicit community feedback. On February 2nd, Columbus City Council amended the budget to distribute the additional revenue identified by the auditor into the existing council funds, which will focus on funding for public safety, jobs, and neighborhood services. And again, those deposits will be made in the Neighborhood Initiatives Fund, the Public Safety Initiatives Fund, and the Jobs Growth Fund. Regarding this budget, I believe that I can speak with the council in saying that we made a fiscally responsible decision in managing the additional budget resources by setting aside the additional available resources for neighborhood services, public safety, and job creation efforts. Council will be better prepared for any unforeseen financial challenges. During the budget hearing process, the council and the administration made it clear that this budget is a continuation budget and funds basic city services. Although the city is now experiencing the full impact of state funding cuts, we have maintained our commitment to the Rainy Day Fund. We're on pace to achieve a $75 million goal in the Rainy Day Fund by 2018. In addition, we have streamlined the operation of our government and are on track to save as much as $260 million for taxpayers by 2019. As I conclude my comments on this legislation, I will say that this budget reflects the progress our city has made in becoming more efficient. This budget, of course, is balanced and will make investments that will keep Columbus moving forward as the best city to live, work, and to raise a family. And so, are there any comments on this budget?
Just one, Madam Chair, I want to thank you for all of your work and taking us through this process and keeping all the council members informed and engaged along the way. Very much appreciate you and your staff shepherding us through this process. I appreciate it.
Thank you, President Ginther. And so I would now move for passage as amended.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Great, thank you. And so the next ordinance is Ordinance 2621-2014. Is to make appropriations and transfers for the 12 months ending December 31 of 2015 for other funds for various divisions, and to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. And these will be, again, other funds other than the general fund. And there are about 25 funds in this particular ordinance. And so with that, I want to, one, take it from the table.
Second.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And move for passage.
Second.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
The next ordinance is 2622-2015, and is to make appropriations for 12 months ending December 31, 2015, for selected other funds for various divisions, and to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as be necessary and to declare an emergency. And I first move to take it from the table.
Second.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. And this ordinance has 8 funds in it, and I would move for passage.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 2623-2015. It's to make appropriations for 12 months ending December 31 of 2015 for general obligation debt service payments related to the city's bond and note retirement funds and to declare an emergency. So one, I move to take from the table.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
I also will ask to amend this ordinance.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. And then I want to share this. On November the 4th of 2014 and certified by the Franklin County Board of Elections in the November of 2014, Issue 6, a City of Columbus Charter Amendment, was approved by our voters. This charter amendment provides that the city's sinking fund will cease operations on July 1 of 2015, and all provisions related to the sinking fund's operations will be transferred to other city officials. The auditor and/or the director of finance and management are hereby authorized and directed to take such action and to execute and deliver on behalf of council such additional instruments, agreements, certificates, and other documents as may be in their discretion necessary or appropriate in order to carry out the intent of this ordinance. And so with that, I move for passage.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. The next ordinance is ordinance number 0312-2015, and it's to authorize the city treasurer to modify its contracts for various banking services with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and the Huntington Bank, and to authorize expenditure of $432,500 from various funds within the city and to declare an emergency. And our treasurer, Ms. Clee, would like to speak on this legislation.
Councilmember Tyson, President Ginther, and members of council. The City Treasurer's Office maintains several banking contracts for citywide purposes. This particular ordinance adds additional funding for its contract with J.P. Morgan Chase for the income tax ACH account, as well as additional funding for the Huntington National Bank, both for the water lockbox and for credit card processing throughout the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Treasurer. Any questions or comments? I move for passage. Oh, no, I move for passage by voice vote.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page,
Yes.
Paley, Tyson,
Yes.
President Ginther.
Thank you. The last ordinance in finance is ordinance number 0359-2015, and it is to authorize the issuance of special obligation bonds in the amount not to exceed $185 million for the purpose of providing funds and to refund certain outstanding special obligation bonds of the city, and this is Section 55B of the city charter. And so I request to, request to waive second reading, but before I do that, I'm going to allow Mr. Dorian to make any comments regarding this legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and all council members. You may recall this past October, we refunded some sanitary sewer revenue bonds. This ordinance represents the balance of those funds. Interest rates have continued to decline since that time. So I'm now asking your permission to refund the remaining sanitary sewer revenue bonds. This amount that I present to you is obviously an outside not to exceed amount. I really don't suspect the amount will ultimately be that much, but I always ask you for the not to exceed amount. Much work to be done on this yet. Bonds won't be sold for another 2 or 3 weeks. And I ask your permission and support of the ordinance to proceed with the effort. I believe that we never know the exact amount of savings because of the changing interest rate environment, but I'm comfortable in saying to you that we will save a few $1 million on this transaction for the sanitary sewer ratepayers.
Thank you, Auditor Dorian, and I think that once these bonds are sold, we'll come back and we'll share the amount of money that our city will be saving. And over the past refundings that we have done, we have saved significant dollars for the residents of our community, which will allow us to be able to continue to provide these great quality services. So thank you, Mr. Dorian, and we look forward to selling the refunding of those bonds. And so with that, I want to waive second reading.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you, and now I'd like to move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you, and then I would like to move to Health and Human Services. Thank you. There's one ordinance in that committee, and it is ordinance number 0295-2015. It's to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept a grant from the Greater Columbus Arts Council to design and develop a near South Columbus Art Walk map, update the current maps, and to continue to promote public engagement for all art walks in the amount of $4,000, and to authorize the appropriation of $4,000 to the Health Department in the city's private grants fund. Once this art walk is designed, it will be our 13th walk, and it should be completed by September. It is a great way for our residents to be able to tour neighborhoods, to see not only great art, but great architecture while getting healthy. And with that, I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Next committee is the Public Safety Committee. Councilmember Klein chairs that committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First in public safety tonight is 99-2015 to authorize the Public Safety Director to modify and extend a contract with Target Solutions Learning, LLC, Center Learn, for computer-based distance learning services for the Division of Fire, to authorize an expenditure of up to $115,000 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. Director speaks.
Chairman Klein, members of council, this is a wonderful initiative. As you know, Division of Fire members are required to have so many continuing education hours each year. This allows fire members to take these classes at the fire stations instead of coming down to the headquarters. Likewise, this program can be stopped in the middle in case they have to go on a run. And when they get back to the station, they're able to complete the program. So it's a wonderfully efficient program.
Any questions or comments? I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
100-2015 to authorize the Director of Public Safety to modify the current contract with Med 3000 for EMS billing, collection, and reporting services for the Division of Fire, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1.8 million for collection services and $75,000 for refunds from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. Director.
Chairman Klein, members of council, we have a wonderful performance-based contract with our EMS provider. This contract is looked at as a best practice nationally. Last year, we received about $14.4 million in EMS revenue. Our vendor is then paid on a percentage basis, so it's been a wonderful collaboration with this vendor.
So the vendor only get paid if
only
we
if we get paid, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And finally, 169-2015 to authorize and direct the Director of Public Safety to enter into a contract in accordance with the existing MOU and MOA with Columbus State Community College for the awarding of college credit to Columbus Division of Fire personnel who have received and completed training from the Division's Training Academy, to authorize the expenditure of up to $86,940 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency.
This is also a very innovative approach that we are utilizing not only in fire but also police. When a firefighter or police officer goes through the academy, they receive college credit to Columbus State. This is the second part of that, in which a firefighter has to go through a second program called a journeyman program. As they go through that program, and we are working with Columbus State to provide the coursework, the classwork for the journeyman program, they will likewise receive college credit. So it's a win for Columbus State and a win for our employees.
Okay, terrific, Director. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And then one piece in technology moving forward. 160-2015 to authorize the Director of the Department of Technology and the Director of the Department of Columbus Public Health to modify an annual contract with Language Access Network, LLC, for streaming video and phone-based interpretation services, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $20,002.50 from the Department of Technology Internal Services Fund. Director Cavan, could you address the waiving competitive bidding provisions?
Yes, sir. Chairman Klein, President Ginther, members of council. This service was originally bid several years ago. It subsequently has been determined that it would be cost prohibitive to transition to a new system, and therefore that's the reason for the waiving of the competitive bidding.
Any questions or comments for the director? I move for passage.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And then actually one piece in utilities, if it's okay to move there. 229-2015, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify the contract for the purchase of wholesale electric power with American Municipal Power, Inc. for the division of power, and to authorize an expenditure of $55,725,000 and declare an emergency. Director Davies, what's going on with this ordinance? $55 million is a lot of money.
Yes, sir. Chairman Klein, President Ginther, members of council, it is a lot of money, and it is, as you know, the division of power, we do not generate our own electricity, so we are forced to buy that on the open market. The $55 million represents our estimate of what we will spend this year, and it's based on a contract that we bid 3 years ago, and this is the first of many that you have approved where we are going to be saving millions of dollars through now in 2020 and really get the division back in a good position based on that, and also the help that City Council has provided us last 3 years. Feel very good about the future.
Okay. Any questions or comments for the director? I move for passage.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Klein. Our next committee is the Development Committee. President Pro Tem Mills chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. Tonight in development, I have the following ordinances, beginning with Ordinance 0363-2015, to set forth a statement of municipal services and zoning conditions to be provided to the area contained in the proposed annexation AN 15-001 of 1.123 plus acres in Clinton Township to the City of Columbus as required by the Ohio Revised Code, and to declare an emergency. This is a service ordinance that must be passed before an annexation meeting that takes place before the Board of County Commissioners of Franklin County. If the petition is approved by the County Commissioners, a second city ordinance accepting the annexation will be necessary to complete the process. The land that is being annexed will be a part of the Columbus Metropolitan Northern Lights Library, and Northern Lights branch is located at 4093 Cleveland Avenue. This is all part of their 2020 vision plan, and the annexation and the land were particularly used for a parking lot. One of the accommodations, because of the larger footprint of the building, which will accommodate more users and consumers of the library, also to provide more space for parking. In addition to that, though the library has ensured, the city will add bike racks and all types of spaces for additional alternative transportation, not just cars, but the primary use of this annexation is to include area large enough for a parking lot for their new building. If there are no other comments or questions, I'd like to move for passage.
Hardin, Klein, Mills, Page, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I have Ordinance 0400-2015 to authorize the appropriation of $991,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Land Management Fund to the Department of Development to provide funds for the administration of Land Redevelopment Office and related projects, and to declare an emergency. The land bank sold a total of 121 properties, including 80 structures sold for renovation, 19 lots sold for residential new construction, 19 side lots, including 7 under the motor-owned. Additionally, Land Bank has 34 motor-owned projects in process currently, which is great movement of land and great reuse. The funds that are received from the sale of the Columbus Land Bank properties including record income of over $700,000 in 2014. Implementing the city's vacant and abandoned properties program, the Land Bank acquired 666 parcels and more properties in 2014 than any prior year. If there are no other comments or questions, I'd like to move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Mills. Our next committee is the Recreation and Parks Committee. Councilmember Page chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. Tonight in Recreation and Parks Committee, we have Ordinance 272-2015 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into an agreement with Community for New Direction to provide professional and fiscal services for 2015 Neighborhood Violence Intervention Program, to waive the competitive bidding requirements of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $334,000 from the Recreation and Parks Fund 285, and to declare an emergency. Director McKnight, could you please speak to waiving the competitive bidding requirements?
Councilmember Page, President Ginther, members of council. This ordinance and the following ordinance, 0273-2015, are both contracts that we have with the Communities for New Directions and then the Urban League to provide our outreach workers, our intervention workers, and case management for the APS program. We entered into a contract with these two organizations for 2 years in 2013, so they were under contract for 2013 and 2014. As we began looking at 2015, we believe that it's in the best interest to continue the agreement with these organizations, as that they have a relationship with the neighborhoods, the communities they're in, the people they are reaching through the program, putting into the case management program. And we believe that it's in the best interest of the program and the city to continue those contracts, and that's the reason for the request for the waiver.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions or comments for the Director? If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. Ordinance 273-2015 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into an agreement with Columbus Urban League to provide professional and fiscal services for 2015 Neighborhood Violence Intervention Program, to waive the competitive bidding requirements of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $325,000 from the Recreation and Parks Fund 285, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you, President Ginther. That is all we have tonight in Recreation and Parks.
Thank you, Councilmember Page. Our next committee is the Administration Committee. Councilmember Paley chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. And Administration Committee, this evening we have Ordinance 0186, 2015, to authorize the Director of the Department of Technology and the Director of Human Resources Department to renew an annual software maintenance and support contract with Intellinetics Incorporated for a document management system utilized by the Human Resources Employee Benefits Risk Management Division, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,800 from the Department of Technology Internal Service Fund. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, in the Judiciary and Court Administration Committee, I would like to go back to page 10. On page 10, we have Ordinance 0309, 2015, to authorize and direct the City Auditor to appropriate and transfer of $23,731 from the Indigent Drivers Alcohol Treatment Fund to the Municipal Court Computer Fund, and to appropriate the monies in the Probation User Fees Fund, and to declare an emergency. I'd like to first remove from consent. Oh, did we moved it? Okay, amend as submitted to the clerk.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And Judge Barrows, I see that you're in chambers today. Do you have anything to add with regards to this ordinance? No, thank you very much. Then I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
That's all I have in Judiciary and Court Administration. May I move on to Rules and Reference? And rules and reference, we have ordinance 0458, 2015, to amend Chapter 107 of the Columbus City Code by the enactment of new Section 107.01 to provide a deadline for replacement of candidates upon death, disqualification, or withdrawal prior to a primary election and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. Oh, I do have a couple of announcements. I just wanted to congratulate Ganther's Place on their wonderful event. I think it's their 5th or 6th house suite. It is event. They had it at a new venue this year. It was very well attended. There are so many great neighbors in Ganther's Place. If I try to name them, I'll miss somebody. And I also want to thank my team at Human Resources, especially Director Nikki Brandon, for the wonderful celebration at the King Arts Complex for Black History Month. It was really well done. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Councilmember Paley. There's nothing else, President Pro Tem Mills.
Thank you, President Ginther. I wanted to remind the community that we will have and host council in the community tomorrow evening at Barrick Recreation Center beginning at 5:30, and look forward to all of the community coming out to speak with their fellow council members. There will be time for questions and answers and time to talk to the citizens. I also want to share that you do not have to live in that neighborhood to attend that council and community meeting. You can live anywhere in the city of Columbus. We'd love to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Mills. Any other, Councilmember Hardin?
Council President, just wanted to say on behalf of council and the citizens of Columbus that we share our condolences with the folks of Toledo in the passing of Mayor Collins, and that we stand with them and certainly are there for its family.
Thank you, Councilmember Hardin. Are there announcements? Anything else to come before council this evening? We do have 2 non-agenda speakers we'll take momentarily. If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Clerk, call the roll.
Hardin Klein Mills, Page Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
We stand adjourned.